This chart shows the survival rate of independent restaurants over time. In the first 12 months, we see a steep 60% drop. Extend that to year 5 and attrition hit 80%. Staying open for a decade in this environment is a mathematical outlier. The industry operates on rapid, exhausting turnover. Owners are forced to constantly chase fleeting consumer tastes just to keep diners coming through the door. In this specific economic ecosystem, the accepted rule is that a restaurant must aggressively and continuously adapt its identity to avoid irrelevance. But at Kings Highway and Lindell Boulevards in St. Louis, right across from the sweeping landscape of Forest Park, there is a prominent exception. Inside the historic Chase Park Plaza complex sits the Tenderloin Room. It opened its doors in 1962, while the Gateway Arch was still under construction, and walking into its dining room today feels effectively identical to visiting during the Kennedy administration. Instead of rebranding or modernizing the menu to keep up with the times, an unbroken chain of owners used stubborn consistency to defy economic gravity. That identity was forged by hotelier Harold Koppler and maitre d' Hack Ulrich. On opening night, they intentionally designed the room to feel as though it had already been operating for a century. Koppler achieved this by salvaging heavy, dark wood paneling and fireplaces from demolished 19th-century mansions on Vanderventer Place, physically porting history into the new mid-century space. While Koppler built the physical environment, Ulrich established the service standard. He required the staff to memorize guest profiles so thoroughly that by a diner's second visit, waiters knew the names of their banker and barber. This level of highly personalized elite service turned the room into a primary destination for the era's most prominent figures, drawing in sitting U.S. presidents and serving as a private dining room for the Rat Pack. To anchor the menu, they introduced the pepperloin. It is a prime-cut beef coated heavily in cracked black pepper and seared rapidly over a glowing charcoal grill. Together, Koppler and Ulrich successfully built a luxury enclave that operated completely insulated from the massive cultural shifts happening outside its doors. Stewardship of the restaurant eventually passed to the Karaganis family. They arrived in St. Louis as refugees fleeing the Albanian-Greek border. Over several decades, the family meticulously worked their way up through the city's dining rooms, starting as servers and eventually taking full ownership of the Tenderloin Room. During their tenure, the broader culinary industry was rapidly pivoting. High-end restaurants were stripping down their dining rooms, moving toward minimalism and increasingly informal service. This chart tracks the extreme volatility of independent restaurant trends from 1970 to 2010. While competitors chased fads, the Karaganis family maintained strict tuxedoed service, and cutting right through that chaos is this flat, unwavering golden line representing the Tenderloin Room's trajectory. By holding their ground, the family proved that extreme continuity functions as a highly effective offensive business strategy. In 2019, ownership transitioned to a new team led by St. Louis chef Bob Brazel. Just months later, they faced the 2020 lockdowns, an existential threat made uniquely severe by being physically trapped inside a shuttered hotel. The operational collapse was devastating. Despite the outward appearance of a seamless modern transition, the restaurant lost almost its entire back-of-house staff. The sole exception to this collapse was Chef Shelby Johnson. By staying on, she became the ultimate custodian of the kitchen's institutional knowledge. The new owners executed a calculated preservation strategy. They actively rejected modern culinary fads like dry aging, opting instead to reconfigure the kitchen flow while strictly restoring the original 1920s woodwork and the 1950s stained glass ceiling. The modern stewards survived by reinforcing both the physical and operational foundations, ensuring the room's history remained safely accessible to diners. Today, the dining room functions as a generational bridge. Families sit in the exact same setting to celebrate milestones identically to how their grandparents did decades prior. The physical environment and the preparation of the signature pepperloin remain exactly as they were on opening night in 1962. Outside the doors of the Chase Park Plaza, the modern world is defined by relentless, exhausting change. Inside, the space offers a permanent retreat. This environment exists because an unbroken lineage of 3 ownership groups, supported by individuals like Chef Johnson, actively protected it. In an industry defined by constant erasure, radical consistency achieves something rare: It transforms a simple restaurant into a tangible, living record of city history.